Ladies and gentlemen, we do have some very surprising news. Now, just to give you guys some context, Barcelona have been facing so many injuries in the past 3 to 4 weeks. Our key players have been out of action for a very long time. Frenkie has been out, Lewandowski has been out, Raphinha has also been out, Pedri and Kounde have also been out of the game for a very long time, and we have been missing these players. Now, again, I want to congratulate the players who have been trying to take care of those roles. Like, for example, Gavi has been able to transform himself into a much different player and take care of the positions of Frenkie de Jong, Pedri, and so forth. Fermin Lopez also came in, a dangerous number 8 that we have been waiting for in this squad. Yes, many youngsters have stepped up, but at the end of the day, we want to see Frenkie, Lewandowski, Raphinha, Pedri, and Kounde all back to be fully ready for the Clásico that is coming in the next 15 to 18 hours. But here is going to be the big surprising news. Earlier today, it was seen, right? And I'm going to be showing you guys a picture on what we all saw. But we have seen all players be included in today's group training session. Lewandowski was seen, Frenkie was seen, Pedri was seen, and Kounde was also seen. Raphinha was there and was training for the second time in a row with the group. It has also been reported coming from Alex Pintanel that there is a possibility that Lewandowski, Kounde, Pedri, and De Jong could be called up for the match against Real Madrid. And this, again, my friends, it is so unexpected. We never thought that all of these players were going to be included in the squad list, because remember, Pedri was supposed to come back on November 4th. Kounde was reportedly supposed to come back by mid-November. Frenkie de Jong was also supposed to be coming back by mid-November. And then to just see them come in the very last minute to train with the rest of the group members, I'm like, what is going on? Something strange is happening. So I do want to ask this question. What caused this quick turnaround? And I'm going to be dividing this into two different points. Point number one, could it possibly be that the players took painkillers? And that is something that does get me very nervous. Now, I'm not saying that this is for sure. It's just a speculation, because like the fact that these players came in last minute, I'm like, okay, something happened here. But this way does get me very nervous, because that does not mean that the players are fully recovered. What it means is that these players put on these painkillers so they can ignore the pain, not feel the tears around their body, and continue to play the game. And the scary thing from all of this is that once the painkillers do wear off from the body and the Clásico is over, right, and they wake up the next day, they're gonna feel that exact same injury, but only even worse. They're gonna feel the pain much, much worse because of the amount of running they did against Real Madrid, because of the amount of sprints they did into the box, because of the amount of defending they had to do. They're gonna feel that the next day. And so, like I have said, that is a possibility. I'm not saying that this is for sure and that this is something that has been confirmed, because we don't know. I can only speculate, and that's about it. I'm not somebody that works inside the club, and I don't know what these players are going through. So this could be false, but this is what's going to lead me towards point number two. What if everything that we have been hearing has been false information only because Xavi Hernandez wants to confuse Ancelotti and Real Madrid, right? What if this whole thing was a tactic and they did not want to spread out the good news that was going on in this club just so Ancelotti can be surprised by the time the Clásico does start? Like, really think about that, right? Because again, I find this so strange. Everything about this is so strange to hear that all of these players are now back and all of a sudden they seem healthy. Because what if Xavi was trying to make Ancelotti believe that we were going to line up with a midfield of Oriol Romeo, Gundogan, and Gavi, and then having our defense being Cancelo, Araujo, Christensen, and Alejandro Balde. But then we end up seeing a midfield of Frenkie, Gundogan, and Gavi, and then having our defense being Kounde, Araujo, Christensen, and Alejandro Balde, right? The back infamous four. Because remember, the coaches prepare based off what they believe the starting 11 is going to look like and what their formation is going to be. And so can you imagine Ancelotti preparing for facing a midfield of Oriol Romeo with Cancelo inside, with Joao Felix in, with Gavi and Gundogan also playing in the midfield, right? But then all of a sudden they see Kounde starting, Pedri starting, Frenkie starting, Raphinha starting, Lewandowski starting. That's really going to, almost in a way, make Real Madrid believe that they have trained for nothing in the past week, because all of those strategies and systems that they were planning on using against Barcelona means nothing on that day. And remember, there were reports in the past 24 to 48 hours stating that Xavi Hernandez is trying to keep everything a secret. He does not want to give out all of his information on what they're going to be doing, what players are going to be available, everything that they're trying to do, they want it to be under wraps. So it would be so surprising, my friends, to see these players get included into the squad list and they end up starting. Now look, maybe these players could be included into the squad list, but that's already enough. That's already a big enough of a surprise, because even if they don't start in the 11 and we still see a midfield of Oriol Romeo, Gundogan, and Gavi, and having Cancelo as a right back, even if they don't start, right, and we see Lewandowski, Frenkie, Pedri, Kounde, Raphinha on the bench, that's still very surprising, because we can switch things up later in the game, right? We can form an 11 in the second half that was not planned or seen by Ancelotti. It's still very much unexpected, even if they don't start. So Xavi had a few things things to say about the squad list, and this is what he said, and I quote, "I was surprised to see players we almost discarded training. Everybody wants to be available. The sensations are very good for everybody. Tomorrow, we will make the list after seeing how they are doing after today's training session." So best case scenario, of course, we have everybody available in the squad list and all of them do start. Because remember, if they are going to be in the squad and things don't go right in the second half and we have to score more goals and things go left, we can always change the game plan and include those A-game top tier players. Now look, I'm going to be keeping my hopes not too high. I'm just going to keep them like even. I'm not going to keep them too low or too high, but I'm just going to assume that maybe the players were trying as hard as they can to make it to the squad list and they end up making it, but they don't end up playing. I think that the two players that are most likely set to feature and get the most minutes is going to be Raphinha and Lewandowski. As for Frenkie, there is still a possibility, but with Pedri and Kounde, I don't know. But again, we never know because none of us ever thought that these players were going to be included in today's group training session. So Rack1 has reported this about Lewandowski, and this is what they stated. The condition of Lewandowski's ankle indicates that he can play 50 to 60 minutes tomorrow without risk, and he does have the green light. Whether or not he starts, it will depend on how he does feel in the next few hours. Xavi also stated that if Lewandowski and Frenkie de Jong are 100%, they will have no problem playing. As for Pedri, a player that we have been dying to see back and return into the squad, and so this is what Xavi had to say about Pedri when they asked him, do you think that Pedri's main problem today is happening only because he played so many games in the first season at Barcelona? And this is what Xavi said. I don't know if that's the main reason or not. I don't know. Injuries have several causes. With Pedri, we are on time and there is no problem. So going back to my opinion, right? I really want to just say this. Everything seems so strange right now. I don't know what's going to happen. I still strongly believe that a lot of this has been put out, like all of this misinformation and all of these players coming in very early in the very last minute is only because they want to confuse Ancelotti so they can make him question, okay, how do I approach this game? Who's going to be there in the squad list? I'm also going to maintain the stance of Lewandowski and Raphinha getting the most chances of going up against Real Madrid, and overall this is just good news because the fact that we have all of these players returning and looking better than ever, we're for sure going to be ready for the match against Real Sociedad next week on Saturday. And I know that this has nothing to do with the Clásico, but still, to see a lot of these players already in the group training sessions, for sure, by next week, in about 7 or 8 days, we will be ready for that match against Sociedad. And it's going to be important because I look at that team and I'm like, okay, this is a team that is unbeaten in the Champions League. They are doing very well in La Liga and they are extraordinary. They're one hell of a team. It's going to be a very complicated match. And I think that by that time, for sure, like I'm not even going to have doubts. Against Real Sociedad, we will be having a fully formed, primed FC Barcelona with everybody back. So since we are here, I want to paint out two possibilities. It's going to be very similar to the video that I did make in the previous one. I'm going to be talking about a 11 that does include all players being available and a 11 that does include Lewandowski and Raphinha only. Starting with the first 11 with all of the players assuming they're all going to be available. I think that we will have a defensive line of Araujo, Kounde, Christensen, and Alejandro Balde. A backline that I think is for sure going to be able to handle this Real Madrid team. And then our midfield being Frenkie, Gundogan, and Gavi. Our front three also being Joao Felix, Lewandowski, and Ferran Torres. As for the other 11, assuming that only Lewandowski and Raphinha do make it and we don't have Frenkie, Pedri, or Kounde, maybe Frenkie, but he sits on the bench, we could see an 11 that does include Cancelo, Araujo, Christensen, and Balde, with our midfield being Gundogan, Fermin Lopez, and Gavi, and then our front three being Joao Felix, Lewandowski, and Ferran Torres. So we'll see. This is going to be some very exciting stuff. Whatever does happen in the next 12 to 18 hours is going to be so surprising, I would say. So that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.